Welcome to the Breakthrough to Brilliance podcast, where we have inspiring and insightful conversations about breaking free from life's biggest challenges to find fulfillment and purpose. I am your host, Seema Giri, an international speaker, best-selling and award-winning author, book writing mentor, and publisher. I bring you real-life stories of healing and transformational journeys so that you know that you can create life on your own terms. Our heart centered guests are the everyday heroes that you find in your backyard, from mothers to sisters to friends to entrepreneurs and authors. Join us to hear their positive and powerful stories so you too can learn to live with purpose and joy. See? Welcome to Breakthrough to Brilliance podcast. I'm so happy to be here with you for another amazing episode. And today we have an amazing guest, Penelope Jane Smith. But before we get started with this amazing interview, we're going to do our usual grounding meditation so we can be in the here and now, present with each other. So I invite you to close your eyes and just relax into your seat. Feel the strength of your seat holding you. Taking a deep cleansing breath and exhale. Another deep cleansing breath. And with this exhale, I want you to exhale everything that is not serving you at this moment. I know you had a lot of things to do before our time together today, and you have appointments afterwards. But let go of that worry and what you need to do next. I promise you, it'll be there waiting for you. With another inhale, exhale everything and totally relax into your chair. And now I would like you to bring your attention to your heart. And maybe even put your hand over your heart to bring that awareness. And with the next inhale in, I would like you to think of a happy moment. It can be from any time period of your life, including today. And relive that joy, that bliss, that amazing feeling you've had at that time as if you're living it for the very first time. And just take that in. Embody that blissful feeling. Think of who you were with. Was it your loved ones? Was it your friends? Was it a time just alone for you? And just take that in. And wait for your heart to respond with love. Okay, so with your next inhale and exhale, I want you to bring your attention to the top of your head, which is the crown chakra. And think of a second happy moment. And relive this moment as if you're living it for the very first time. Just take that in. That joyful, blissful feeling, that excitement, that peace that you felt. Feel it now and embody that. Now that our heart and minds are connected, I want you to open your heart and mind to the possibilities of what you will hear today. It might be something that you need, or perhaps you are the messenger to convey some aspect of the message you hear today to someone who needs to hear it from you. And I invite our special guest and me to open up our hearts and mind to really tune into the energy of today, to our audience, to our listeners, and get in tune with what they might need to hear from us. With your next inhale and exhale, feel grounded in your seat. And when we open our eyes in a second, we'll be here and now, present together. You open your eyes with a great big smile. Welcome, Penelope.
Hi, hi. Good to be here, Seema.
So great to have you here today. So, Penelope, what was called upon your heart when we did that meditation?
Well, it was really lovely because I have a 5-year-old and a 2 month old. And it's tricky to take time to just like breathe and ground sometimes. So it left me feeling very peaceful and grounded, and also like just so present to the love and abundance that's in my life. Like when you're talking about happy moments, the first thing I flashed to was this morning. I have this giant like foam beanbag chair thing called a love sack.
Uh-huh.
It's like a big purple nest. And so snuggling with my baby and my 5-year-old and my cat all up in the nest, just like so much love and this just beautiful day in my dream home, and thinking like, wow, this is really the life, and feeling incredibly present and grateful and loving for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is amazing. Thank you for sharing. And congratulations to you for your second baby.
Thank you.
2 months old, and you're already out and interviewing and back into
I
work.
mean, that's another thing to be grateful for, right? Is I have abundant support, which allows me to do this. Like I could have done it with my first kid. My first kid, I thought I had a lot of support, but it was probably 6 months before I could really like do anything. It was really intense. And now I have somebody that actually like stays with me and helps as a night nanny, and can watch the baby if I want to do something like this. So I feel very lucky, and the recovery's been a lot better too. I have, way more energy, and I feel great. Like this time, last time,
Yeah.
not so much.
Well, that's amazing, and it's true. We don't really realize all that we have. That we have so much abundance. Everyone is so focused on the next great thing, on the next big thing. So that is why I love to just pause and remind myself that I already have so much abundance and there's so much going on because, as we'll find out in our conversation, that is how to really build more abundance, right? When you
Yeah, totally. And
acknowledge what you have.
I'm passionate about supporting women entrepreneurs to create financial freedom, right? And I often have people tune into their financial freedom vision, like what is it that you want your life to look like? And some of the best things really have nothing to do with money, like snuggling with my
Yes.
kids and my cat in the love sack. Like that doesn't cost anything, but it's like a peak life experience. It's so wonderful.
Exactly. And I really miss those moments because my babies are now 24 and 22.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine.
I still get hugs from my daughter. My son once in a while, but it's not like a regular thing. We used to have a regular thing every single day, at
Mm.
least, 5, 10 times a day.
Oh,
So, oh my gosh, I can just feel that love and hug and that snuggling as it's taking back to my
yeah,
days. I'm adding, it's really dating myself and aging myself, but that's okay. Well, before we dive into this conversation deeper, I'd like to give your introduction.
sure.
So, to our listeners, Penelope Jane Smith is a premier financial freedom coach for women entrepreneurs and the go to expert for some of the biggest names in the conscious business industry. She is an acclaimed international speaker and certified trainer with over 20 years of teaching experience and the author of The Little Book of Prosperity. Through her signature programs like Financial Freedom 101, she has helped thousands of entrepreneurs from all over the world to create more ease, peace, and the freedom around money. That is amazing. So, Penelope, can you tell us how you got started in this area?
How I got started. Well, I think that the big reason I'm so passionate about what I do now is because, I learned about financial freedom, passive income, stuff like that when I was in my 20s. And I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. And I jumped into real estate, and I took $10,000 of my own money. I turned that into over $6 million of real estate in only 4 years. And I was on track to be able to retire by the time I was 31, to become financially free by the time I was 31. I had over 35 properties all around the United States. And then, of course, when the 2008 crash hit, not of course, but the position I was in, 2008 crash hit, I actually lost everything. So I went from being almost financially free to being millions of dollars in debt, lost my own beautiful home to foreclosure, struggled and struggled and struggled to make ends meet. And I was eventually forced to declare bankruptcy. So I felt completely stressed out. I felt like a total failure. I like lost, all this I had built, and it was really, really hard. And then like right around that time, I got invited to participate in this high level mastermind on Necker Island, which is Richard Branson's private island. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes, yes, I have.
Like super amazing, right? But it was a $50,000 investment for a 5-day mastermind. I didn't have income. I didn't have credit. I had like a couple $100 to my name. Like if there was ever a time for somebody to say, no, I can't afford to do that, like it was me right then. Right. But I did have this like really intense intuitive hit that I was supposed to be there. And I'm like, wow, okay, and so I told my inner critic to take a coffee break, and I brainstormed as many ideas as I could come up with, no matter like how just crazy and far-fetched. And about 4 of them together worked. And I got the $50,000 together in 4 days, and I went to Necker Island. And that was really the beginning of turning everything around, because the facilitator of the group announced publicly that he wanted to win a Nobel Prize for single-handedly turning the economy around. And I was like, what? Like it really inspired me. And so I'm sitting there on this billionaire's private island with the question of, what could I, Penelope Jane, do to single-handedly turn the economy around? And I got a download. Do we have time to share my download?
Yes, please.
Awesome. So here's what I noticed. I noticed that everybody has their own personal economy that may or may not have anything to do with the economy at large. So my personal economy was tanking, right? But there were other people on Necker Island back home in the San Francisco Bay Area where I'm from. They were having their best year in business ever, and we're doing amazing and making plenty of money. And I thought, okay, there's something to this. If I could support enough individual entrepreneurs, because we create jobs and opportunities and awesomeness in creating their own personal economy of abundance, then eventually we'd hit a tipping point, and that would affect the economy at large. So I came back to California, and I started supporting entrepreneurs to make more money, which is something I'm really great at. And as a byproduct, my own business tripled to where it was before the crash, which was, a happy byproduct, right? And I also started making microloans to women business owners in Africa, Asia, South America, because I wanted to have a global impact right away. And I'm still doing that today. In fact, we're launching our own community cryptocurrency right now called Prosperity Coin. And part of the pre-launch was raising money for more microloans for women entrepreneurs in these countries. So that's really fun and exciting. And so that was really the beginning of turning everything around, and now I've been able to cash flow my dream wedding. I have all this incredible support, so I can have a business doing what I totally love while having lots of time with my kiddos to snuggle in the love sack and play, right? I just bought this incredible dream home last year in Benicia. Like if I look up above my computer where I'm doing the recording right now, I can see a view of the water and the hills and the bridges. And it's just like absolutely spectacular. So I'm so passionate about this because I've lived through some people's worst challenges financially, and I want to help other women, especially, avoid some of the painful mistakes I've made. And if you've had challenges, like lots of people have, I have, to help them kind of like pick themselves up and dust themselves off and rise like a phoenix from the ashes, and recreate the abundance and the freedom that they want to create.
Wow, that is such an inspirational story. But Penelope, I'd like to go back a little bit to the point where you said that you lost everything, then you got this opportunity to go to Richard Branson's island for a 5-day mastermind.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the period between not having everything, feeling like you're not good enough or you're a failure, to switching your mind into, okay, let me find out how I'm going to make this happen. How did that happen? How did you go how did you make that switch?
There were 2 big mindset shifts. One was like from there's no way I could afford this to how could I afford it, right? Mm. The other mindset shift was focusing on like how horrible my situation was onto how can I help someone else, because there are other people. having challenges as well, right? So that first mindset shift, it was really saying like, okay, I'm just gonna, not be a victim of my own circumstances. I'm not going to look at all the reasons I can't do it. I'm just going to see if maybe I can. And so that really was the conversation switch in my head was I can't afford it. I can't do it to, well, how could I do it? Because like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
Yes.
And when you say I can't, it's like your mind just shuts down. You don't even see possibilities anymore. When you say, how can I? Like maybe I could have made it work, maybe I couldn't, but at least now I'm open to the possibilities, right? Because we've been trained from the time we were little kids to when somebody asks you a question, you start searching for an answer. So by sitting with the question, how can I afford it? Now my subconscious, my conscious, like all the parts of my mind are out searching for like, well, how could I do that? What could possibly happen? And I like really just asked my inner critic, please go take a coffee break. I'm just going to sit down and come up with at least 10 ideas, even if they're crazy. And maybe I won't go to Necker Island, but at least I will be in possibility consciousness instead of just shutting down. And I think that emotional journey is really important and sometimes more important than if you actually, made it to the island or not. Like in my case, I did. And I'm happy I did. But even if I had just gone through that process and not gone to Necker Island, I would have still been aware of possibilities I wasn't aware of before. Right.
Exactly.
So I think that emotional journey is really important. So in my case, I was like, well, what could I sell for $50,000? Or, what are 10 things I could sell for $5,000? Or what are 5 things I could sell for $10,000? Or what are 50,000 things I could sell for $1? And like, what about these bonuses? Could I sell the bonuses? Could I have somebody sponsor me for a percentage of my revenue? Could I, what else did I think of? But I came up with like 10 ideas and 4 of them together worked. I was able to apply a program I'd purchased previously with this mentor that came as a bonus, but I'd already bought it. So I was able to apply that to the tuition. I was able to sell a bonus that it came with. I was able to sell some other thing. And then for the rest of it, I did get somebody to sponsor me in exchange for a percentage of my revenue. So the deal was like, they would lend me the money and I would pay them, a percentage until they had gotten 150% of their investment back. And I approached multiple people about it. So that could have been various different people. It ended up being one person, and that's how I did it. But again, I think the emotional journey is the important part versus like the things that actually ended up working.
Yes, and that's exactly what I want to point out to our listeners because they'll be like, I know I used to feel when I was, in that kind of a state before that, okay, it's great for Penelope. She was able to do it, but how do I get myself to that level? And it's the small shifts that happen in between, like feeling like, okay, let me see what is possible. Can I do this? Going from I can't do this or I can't believe I'm in this to how. How is very expansive.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just making the shift, okay, I'm going to, think more positive. I'm going to take this one step. Then the sequential steps, they come up. You get to see that. You don't need to know what all the steps are going to be. Just take that one next step that you think is right for you from wherever it is that you're standing in. Just ask yourself, close your eyes, take a deep breath, close your eyes and ask yourself, what is that next step that I can take? The very best next step for me. And you just keep asking that question and making it happen. And like Penelope said, she just made a list. Give yourself like a 5-minute time to make a list because you don't want to start judging it and start thinking, oh, this is not going to work. Oh, this is not going to work. Don't worry about that. It's a list of possibilities. What are the possibilities that you can have? And time yourself a 5 minutes or less than that and see how many ideas you can come up with. Because once you give yourself more time, you start judging and then you go down that rabbit hole again. So it's just these small steps that Penelope took that, that made a huge difference. She was able to go. So that is amazing. Now, while you were on the island with all these other amazing people, how did you get yourself to really open up and be like one of them, because I know if I was there with Richard Branson and other people, I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. Like, am I, again, that thought would come up, am I good enough?
Well, what came up for me wasn't so much I'm good enough. What came up for me was like, I just invested $50,000 to be here. I had better make every second count, right? Like it was like this, but it was this desire to almost like hold on really tight. And so my emotional journey was let that go and trust that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to get what I need from the experience. So you don't need to try to network every minute. You don't need to like, I don't know, you don't need to be all weird and clingy about it. Just, be present and see what happens. And actually the most important thing didn't come from other people telling me what to do or coaching. The most important thing came from, there was one night where they were all doing like a casino night downstairs. Mm-hmm. And I was like really doing my best to just be present and be in my intuition and like, where should I be? Right. What was true for me. And what was true for me was like, I didn't want to do casino night, So if I was holding on, I would have been like, oh no, I got to go like be with the people and do the things. But what I actually felt called to do was just to go up to the crow's nest, which is the top of the island, and just kind of like sit there in quiet by myself. And so I went up there, and that's where I got that download that ended up informing the whole next chapter of my life and business. And so I did end up getting like really wonderful experiences and distinctions, especially like leadership skills from like what we did in the mastermind. But the most profound thing didn't come from the other people there. It came from being open, in that experience.
That's another key.
So that was the biggest thing for me. I didn't feel like, it wasn't so much like I'm not worthy. It was like, oh God, I got to make this count. This is like my last chance. If I don't make this work, then it's all, I may as well just cycle off the planet now because, nothing's ever going to work. So there was like it was kind of feeling like, oh my God, all my chips were on the table. And if I lost this bet, my life was over. And like letting go of that feeling and trusting that I was where I was supposed to be and I was going to get whatever I was supposed to get.
That is a key thing. Having faith in yourself and trusting the universe. Some people like to say the other way around, but I think having a faith in your abilities and your intuition and in you is so critical. And because you had that, you were just able to let go and be you, right? Mm-hmm. Be you always in the present moment, because you have an amazing gift. And I think in financial distress, we tend to forget that because that's such a big part of our life.
Yeah.
So Penelope, why are you specifically helping women?
Oh, well, actually, there is a very good reason for that, because even though I work with people of, all gender identities and all career paths, I specifically focus on women entrepreneurs. And the reason I have a special place in my heart for that particular group is that we are a group that is, massively underserved by the financial services industry. There's an inherent gender bias in that industry, like in a lot of industries. Like, did you know that seat belt safety testing is based on the average person, which means it's actually based on the average man? So more women get injured or die from seatbelts than men do. Isn't that messed up?
That is messed up. Now that have that statistics, why aren't they just using a woman?
I mean, I don't know. It's just like, it's like the fish in the water that doesn't even realize it's in the water. Like when we think of a person, most people picture a man, right? It's just kind of like baked into our society. Yeah. And in the financial planning industry, 86% of financial advisors are men. Most of them are over 50. And the typical big box financial advisor models, like the Charles Schwabs and the Edward Jones and these, they don't take into account women's longer lifespans, differences in our career paths and financial goals, which means that statistically, women end up with less money at retirement, but it has to last us longer. And then as an entrepreneur, there's no ceiling on your income, right? But your income typically goes up and down, which makes traditional financial advice really frustrating. Like, how do you manage cash flow when your income changes all the time? How do you strike a balance between investing in your business and outside of your business? So that's why I focus on supporting women entrepreneurs specifically, even though, like I said, I have people of all gender identities and careers attend my events and work with me as clients. But that's kind of like the special spot in my heart.
Oh, no, that's really important, and I think I believe my focus is primarily women as well, but I believe they're also the center of the family,
Yeah.
right? They're the center of the family, and we are responsible for teaching our children, supporting our spouse, and sometimes even teaching them. So we are in the center of everything, teaching everyone. So we have to be well versed in these critical areas of life, and I think particularly finances. And this is one area that I find many women not really stepping into it because of fear of the unknown and fear of just thinking that they just don't know, because growing up, we've been taught that all these things are taken care of by men. It is a man's job. You just take care of the family and the kids. Well, taking care of the family and the kids includes finances. So I'm finding
Yeah.
a lot of women not having that knowledge. That's really great. People like you are really stepping into and supporting women. So when we say supporting women, to me, we're actually supporting everyone.
Totally. And I mean, you've probably seen research on how like when women have money, a lot of it gets poured back into their families and their communities. Like when women have money, good stuff happens, you know. So I'm really into having awesome women become crazy wealthy for all the good they can do for their families and communities and the world, really.
Yes, true. And so if our listeners are thinking, if they have some fear around it, it's okay, it's natural. We're through Penelope, we're learning, what are the small steps that you can take to really embrace it. So it's like anything that you're afraid of. You have the courage and you try anyway. You take small steps. So
Yeah.
listening to this podcast is one small step to learning a little bit more about it. So I've noticed in my years of experience working with, I've led over, mentored over 100,000 people. So financial freedom means different things to everyone.
Yeah.
So when you're saying financial freedom, what does that mean to you?
I think that's really important to look at because, like you said, it kind of depends on who you're talking to. And even like the whole like MLM network marketing industry has kind of commandeered the word and made it mean something it doesn't mean. Or people who are selling online courses, like, you know, yes, online courses can give you leverage in your business, but you actually have to market and sell them. So that's not
Yes.
necessarily financial freedom. But the truth is, there's a spectrum of financial experience, all the way from being in financial crisis, like I was in the real estate crash. So, like, if you're not able to pay your bills, not able to keep a roof over your head, like that's real crisis, facing bankruptcy, right? You get to the point where you can cover all your bills, you're what I call cash flow positive. There's freedom there. You can support yourself without having to rely on anybody else. Like that's cool. If you have no consumer debt, there's freedom there. If you have a cash cushion between you and life's unexpected stuff, there's freedom there. If you can pay cash for purchases instead of going into debt, there's freedom there. So there's like all along the journey to even like owning your home free and clear, there's more and more freedom at each milestone along that spectrum, right? And so when I talk about financial freedom, I'm talking about moving people along that spectrum so they have more and more and more freedom starting right now, all the way to the final milestone, which is where your passive income is more than your expenses. Your passive income is income that comes in whether you're working, sleeping, or playing, income that comes in from assets that you've purchased or created so that you don't have to depend on your business, a job, the government, a partner, an adult child, or anyone else for money. And you're really in a place where you're just at choice with what you do with your time and energy because your money is taking care of you. So there's a switch over from you always working hard for money, working hard for money, working hard for money, to now your money is working hard for you. And you're in a place of freedom and choice and making decisions from that place versus making decisions out of debt or obligation or fear.
That just sounds so good. And when you said the money is taking care of you, I don't think people really think of it that way, right? That money can take care of you. It's always we're chasing money. So I'm a big proponent of, languaging and law of attraction and all of that. I think all of these things work together if you know how to utilize them properly. I'd love to have your take on that. So, according to law of attraction and how the universe hears things, I've stopped saying financial freedom. I used to say financial freedom for a long time. But I was talking to another mentor of mine, and he says he never uses financial freedom because the universe is hearing it as freedom from finances. So then your finances are not going, because it's like, okay, you want financial freedom, translated freedom from finances.
Interesting.
So that's languaging. So I'm now saying financial independent, and knock on wood, I've built myself to be that way, financially independent. But I want more, and I used to feel shy about saying I want more, but now it's like, why not? When I have more, then I can do more.
Absolutely.
I can be of more service to other people. And what's wrong with wanting more? Penelope, do you find women feeling bad or guilty of wanting more?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, there's so much money shame in our society around so much, like shame around not having enough, shame around having too much, shame around wanting more, shame around not having their money stuff together. Like, oh, why don't I have this all figured out? Everybody else has it figured out. You know what? Nobody has it figured out. Like, they don't teach this stuff in school or at home most of the time.
Yes.
And that's why independent financial education is so important, right? So no, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting more. There's studies have shown that the correlation between happiness and money increases for a certain amount of time, and then it actually decreases. And like that peak of like where money brings the maximum happiness this is like the fulfillment curve of the peak fulfillment is at enough and then some.
Yes.
And that's a little bit of a moving target. And then you can get to the point where having more money correlates with less happiness, because a lot of times when people have more money, they own more things, and there's a maintenance energy to that, and that can actually like not be fun. I used to think I wanted a second home in Las Vegas and Italy and Spain and Japan, why not, and Seattle and Hawaii. And like, having owned all this real estate, I know that there's a maintenance energy to owning these things. And I decided, you know what? I don't need to own all these vacation homes. Like, how often am I really going to go to all of them? Why don't I just put in my cash flow plan enough money to go travel wherever I want and not have to like stay in a particular place, but like just go wherever I want at whatever level I want. And there's actually more joy and freedom there for me than in owning all of those things. And I also think that when you're talking about like the term financial freedom didn't resonate with this person or you, I think it's important to see like what lights you up in your body. Like, the reason I use financial freedom instead of like retirement to me conjures up pictures of people like sitting around watching TV, or maybe going on cruises, which I like. I like going on cruises. But freedom is one of my highest values. I think of like the movie Braveheart, where he goes, freedom. And I just like feel this amazing expansion in my chest. And like, for the longest time, I didn't use the term financial freedom in my business because I didn't want it to sound like too hypey or like I was promoting an MLM and I think MLMs can be good if they're done right. But it's really what I'm about. It's like, it's my values and it's what I'm passionate about. And so that term actually lights me up. I don't experience it as freedom from finances. I experience as, from worrying about money because it's taken care of. So, but I think if it does not resonate with you, then obviously like find a term that does, right? The important thing is passive income is more than your expenses. That's what we're going for, regardless of what you call it.
Yeah, you made a great point there. It's how it resonates with you. So if certain words resonate really well with you, then that's what you're going to attract. So that is a great point to make. And Penelope, can you define passive income? Because I'm not sure if all of our audience would understand what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. So the American Internal Revenue Service defines it as income from trade or business activities in which you do not materially participate. So basically, it's income that comes in from assets or investments that you either buy or create that isn't dependent on like your time and energy. So it could be something as simple as interest in a savings account, right? If you've ever gotten that, you put money in your savings account, you're done, you get some interest. It's not a lot of passive income, but that is passive income. And that's important to acknowledge because, like Seema, you're talking about law of attraction. When you can acknowledge that you've received passive income and you are receiving passive income, it's easier to attract more of it, right? Because you're activating that in your vibration and you're giving it that focus. And you're like, oh, this is something that I am a person that has passive income, and then maybe you can expand it from there into it could be like stocks, bonds, cryptocurrencies, real estate. Like there's so many examples. And that's, of course, a lot of what I teach. But yeah, passive income is income that comes in whether you're working, sleeping, or playing, basically.
And that's what they mean when they say have the money work for you where you're earning while you're sleeping.
Absolutely. And the truth is your money can work way, way, way harder for you than you can work for it. Like, let's say you're 25 years old and you start investing $50 a month, right? That's pretty doable for most people if you're focused, not a ton of money. Let's say you do that till you're 65, right? So that's a 40-year period. You invest $50 a month times 12 times 40. You've put in $24,000 over 40 years. That's not like a ton of money. But let's say that you're able to average a 15% return on that over that time. And this, we don't have time to get into like, well, where can you get a 15% return? But let's just say that you can do that. Some things are less, some things are more, but on average, you make 15%. When you're 65, you're going to have over $1.5 million. That's crazy. So the majority of that, over $1.5 million, isn't you working for money. That's your money working for you and going and growing and having babies, and its babies are having babies. And now you are a millionaire, but all you put in was your $24,000 because the money doesn't need to eat. It doesn't need to sleep. It can just be working for you, growing and multiplying and snowballing 24/7.
Right. No, I love that. And that's really utilizing your resources well. Well, I have learned so much from our time together today. Penelope, I'm sure our audience has as well. I would like to ask you, in all the times that you've been doing this, what would be the number one lesson that you have learned?
The number one lesson that I would learn, I would say the most important thing is that there is a difference between the make money world and the grow money world. When we think about money, we think of it as one subject. And most of the time we're so focused on make money, well, get another client, client attraction, flows of clients, right? Endless flow of clients to my programs. Like we are so hyper focused on that. But like I said, your money can work harder for you than you can work for it. So if you could just put a system in place to start transferring some of your money, and that's the key, transfer some of your money from the make money world over the grow money world, where you can get it working for you, like the goose that laid the golden eggs, then your future self is going to be really, really happy.
That's amazing. And how can people learn more from you?
I have a bunch of awesome financial education content on my Penelope Jane Smith YouTube channel. So if you like my vibe and you want to learn from me, there's a lot of great content there. I would say the best next step is to get my Financial Freedom Formula ebook, which you can get for free at financialfreedomgift.com. financialfreedomgift.com. It's a short ebook, but it's really like bite-sized but powerful because it's going to walk you through the two different types of passive income, how to get more of each, and help you figure out your magic number for what exactly it'll take for you to become financially free. And then you can, chart a path to get there. So I think that is really the best next step, to go to financialfreedomgift.com and grab that ebook, and you can read it in less than 15 minutes, but it has the power to change the trajectory of your whole life.
Wow. And who wouldn't want that? So if you didn't catch the website name, don't worry. It's going to be in the show notes. You guys can grab it from there. Thank you so much, Penelope. It's been a pleasure having you on our show today. And I've learned a lot. Thank you for all that you do. I think it's so necessary. And your energy and vibe is amazing.
Thank you, Seema. I appreciate you.
Great. And to our listeners, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Let us know in the comments, what was your key takeaway? And what would your next step is going to be? We would love to learn what you are doing to grow your money. And until next time, until the next episode, this is Seema.
I hope you enjoyed our time together. I know I did. Through this transformational journey, I hope you could see yourself taking similar steps, breaking free to your brilliance, and creating the life that you desire. Please subscribe to our Break Free to Brilliance podcast at your favorite listening place. Tune in to next time for another amazing episode.